Hello, everybody. Eric here for the weekly wrap up of January 5th through January 11th. See how smooth that was? That's because I looked at the calendar like 45 seconds ago to check the dates for this past week. What's been going on? Well, on my channel on Monday, I had a review for Prophecy by David Seltzer, the novelization ish of the old mutant bear, man bear pig movie, not the Christopher Walken Angels versus Demons movie. And then on Friday was X by Tim Wagoner, the novelization of the Ty West movie, the first in the X Pearl Maxine trilogy. And so you can, if you want to know what I thought about those, check out those reviews. Of course, on Wednesday, we had a reading remembrances for June of 2005, which had all sorts of fun stuff. And that's all that went up on the channel. And then, of course, on Sunday, there was a weekly remembrances. Uh, Reading, I started my next book bundle, which was books translated into English. And so I've finished the first one there, which was All You Need Is Kill by Hiroshi Sakurazaka, which was made into the movie Edge of Tomorrow, starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. And, of course, you'll have to wait for the review to find out what I thought of it. I'm currently reading and hoping to finish by the end of the day Hex by Thomas Old Huvelt. I love this cover. Just absolutely love that cover. Just a tiny bit more to go. And again, you're going to have to wait for my review to find out what I think, other than I love that cover. Next up, once I finish Hex, will be The Night House by Joan Nesbo. This one worries me because Ollie of Criminale was not enamored with it. I love this cover as well, not as much as Hex. This evokes to me old 80s, 90s horror paperback covers, whereas Hex is a little more artistic, a little beautiful. I love those colors. I love that silhouette. But I'm hoping, I haven't read Joe Nesbo before. I'm hoping I dig this one. Of course, that's always my hope when I'm reading anything. But Criminale has made me nervous, although he and I don't always agree on stuff. So hopefully I will enjoy that. That's pretty much reading updates. Played some games. Planned on watching some movies. I want to watch Terrifier 3 and Godzilla Minus 1, but I never got around to it. Because I'm always picking up a book instead. I guess the biggest news, I had 2 job interviews. One on Thursday, one on Friday, and it looks like, barring anything, any craziness, any whatever, looks like I'll be starting a new job on Monday, the 20th of January. So I just have to survive until then. I do have to buy some composite-toed shoes, which I had steel-toed boots when I worked in construction. Those are old and long gone. Hopefully, composite-toed shoes are a little more comfortable and not too incredibly expensive. But yeah, so in about a week, slightly over a week at the time of this recording, I may be starting a new job. So I can start paying things off and maybe occasionally picking up a book or a comic book. I spoke to the owner of the comic book store I go to, and he said they're still holding everything for me. He said, not a problem. We've got everything set aside, so I just need to start getting a paycheck and start picking that stuff up from the comic book store. And there might be a couple of big things there. I only have 2 or 3 things at most. There's a few weeks now since I've cut way back on ordering comics. There's some weeks where nothing has come in for me. because I get an email every week telling me what's coming in. Not specifically for me. They send it to everybody on their list with everything that's coming in from all the publishers and everything. And I go through it, and there's some weeks there's nothing. Sometimes it's just 1, 2, maybe 3 books. 4 or 5 is big now. But I think there are a couple of omnibuses that have come out since the last time I was at the comic book store. We'll see. Not 100% sure, but I am hoping one of them at least. The Godzilla, Marvel Comics Godzilla comics from the 70s, 80s. That omnibus, I'm really hoping that came in and they're still holding it for me. Very, very excited about that. And that's pretty much it. This is a quick video. Nothing else going on. I did have I set up the appointment for the first job interview, and then like 12 hours later heard from this other place, and they said, "How's this for the time for a job interview?" And it was exactly the same time as the one I had just set up, which really, what are the chances of that? And so I had to say, I didn't say specifically why, but I was like, "Can we make it the next day?" And they very nicely accommodated beyond that. So yeah, 2 job interviews, 1 position offered, and that's about it. I was just kind of not stressing, but it was on my mind all week until I got to those interviews. It was Thursday was the first one, Friday was the second one, so I had a few days where I was just kind of trying to relax and prepare myself mentally. It's been a long ass time since I've had to do any type of job interview. Yeah, nothing else really going on. Trying to save what little money I have until I start getting paychecks again. So I haven't picked up any books. Where's my phone? Let's see if there's anything. Of course, I always take pictures of stuff. Oh, I did read. I left it over there. I did read something else. Let's see. I'll show you a picture on my phone, so it won't be as nice as me holding up the actual thing. I read, see if you can see this well enough. Too much reflection. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. I read that collection. And let's see. Here is... This isn't going to... if you take the slip cover off, really going to be hard to see that. That's the cover under the slip cover. Terrible. It's over there. I meant to grab it before recording, but I forgot about it. Anyway, it was I think a 7-issue miniseries, and the Legion of Doom, through their machinations to try and stop the Justice League, have brought Godzilla, Kong, and a bunch of other monsters from Skull Island to the DC universe. And so the Justice League are fighting them, trying to figure out why they're there, how to send them back, dealing with the Legion of Doom. It was fun. It's a fun story if you like Godzilla and Kong, which I do. I'm a huge fan of both. If you like the Justice League, which they're no Avengers, but I like them well enough. So it was just a fun superheroes fighting giant monsters kind of story with a few twists. There was one shocking moment. There was one funny, very funny moment, in my opinion. But that was a fun book. If you're a comic book fan, it's worth your time, in my opinion. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. I didn't pick up the regular issues when they were coming out, and although I was very tempted because they did the first issue. Of course, there's multiple covers, as always, for everything. And in the collected edition that I read, it has a cover gallery and stuff, which is fun. But they had... they're very expensive, if I recall. but you could get a Godzilla Roar cover or a Kong Roar cover. And they show what the covers look like in the back of the collected edition that I read. But yeah, so it had a little button you could push. You get the Godzilla one, push the little button, and you hear Godzilla's roar. Same thing for Kong. Don't need to explain it twice. Which would have been cool, but even I was working, I believe, when those came out. And even then, I was like, I can't justify spending the money on that. As cool as it would be, and I would have gotten the Godzilla one. Couldn't justify it. But anyway, so that's something else that I did during the week that I wanted to talk about. Fun little comic book. I'm trying to integrate some comic book reading into my book reading. I'm still way behind on my regular issues, but there's these collected editions are always calling me. Things are always jumping into my head. Maybe I'm a little ADHD. I just watched a video. Marvel has a new line coming out. I don't remember what they're calling it, but they're reprinting sort of important stories from their comics, and they're in slightly smaller than regular trade paperback size. They're the size of their Mighty Marvel Masterworks books, and they're budget priced. And one of the first two that are coming out, one is a Black Panther story by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and the other one is Daredevil Born Again, which is possibly my second favorite comic book story of all time, after Mage by Matt Wagner. But I was watching a video. I watched this channel on YouTube called Near Mint Condition, and he was previewing these two books, and immediately I'm like, man, I want to reread Born Again. I love that comic book so much. I just want to put everything else aside and reread that. And then earlier today I was looking at something, and I saw something with the Rainbow Rowell She-Hulk series, and I have the first 2 or 3 trade paperbacks of that, and I was like, I just want to put everything aside and read some of that. And anytime I look over, I got stacks of comics, of trade paperbacks over here, and the bookshelf over here, full of trade paperbacks. And anytime they catch my eye, I want to put everything aside and read that now. Some of the stuff I want to reread. Some of the stuff is things that I haven't read. Plus all my regular monthly issues. This has just become a rant about me wanting to put everything aside and just read comic books for the rest of my life. Excuse me, apparently. But I am going to try to either, throughout a single week, carve out some time to either read a nice stack of, say, 10 of the floppy comic books, or grab a single trade paperback and read that. Because it doesn't take long. It didn't take me long to read the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. Of course, once I start working again, I'll have a little less time for all of this reading. Hopefully I can make it all work. It'll all work out. Anyway, that is it. I don't have... Well, I suppose let's talk about reading time. What is your reading time like? Do you have set aside time every day or every week where you do your reading, or you just read when you can find the time? For me, well, lately it's been just all the time. I can read whenever the hell I want. Usually a typical day when I'm unemployed is I get up at whatever time, and I need to get back into a normal sleep schedule if I'm going to have a normal work schedule. But wake up at whatever time, just sort of check my emails, I turn on the TV and veg for a little bit, wake up enough that once I start reading, I'm going to be able to comprehend what I'm reading. I play some games on my phone before I start reading, and then I do some reading. I read, and then if my parents aren't babysitting my niece, Mom will usually ask me if I want to play games. We'll play games throughout the afternoon. Then it's back to reading, and that's pretty much it. There's no carved out time because it's all reading time. Generally, when I work, I would read at lunchtime, and then I'd get home from work, clean myself up, have dinner, go over my emails then instead of first thing in the morning. Then I'm not looking at emails till after work. Take care of any business that needs to be taken care of, and then it's just reading time for the rest of the evening, typically. And on weekends, it's more like unemployment days that I've described. But yeah, so no real schedule for me. It's just if I've got free time, chances are I'm going to be reading if I'm not playing games. But what about you? Is it okay? I'm gonna go spend this last hour of the day reading in bed. Do you read on your lunch hour? Do you read first thing in the morning before you get going? Or again, is it just grab the time when you can? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, I'll have links for my Instagram and Bluesky in the description below. And that's all I have for you this week. So until next week, read more books.